Ladies and gentlemen, I know what you're all thinking. Where has the Pat McAfeebas show been? Well, last week was a long week, and so Pat McAfeebas sadly did not have. We didn't have the time to make it the true wonderful product that you all have come to expect. So we didn't want to deliver a half baked show, and so we might go a little extra long today. We're gonna cover week 7 and the first week of playoffs.
That is true, and it's actually the first 2 weeks of playoffs that we are covering. In fact, even more than you bargained for. And we are not joined alone. We have a special guest with us today, Jaylek,
Howdy.
aka James, the coach of the Washington Genesects. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jaylek. I'm bad. Welcome to the show, guys.
Yes, so to support his claim, you see on his slide here, he is the champion of the Chen Pao division. Very impressive,
Yep.
with a 4-3 record and a 9 differential. But as you may notice, here are his recent showdown replays, and 2 of the last 3 are him getting 6-0'd. So
That's
make of
true.
this what you will.
It was very unfortunate both times.
Those are the highlights.
Yeah, I mean, those are the highlights of his replay. It only goes down from there.
It does.
And I can
Speaking
only,
of which, you can see the picture, the one of my best pictures. I know I look really handsome in it. So
for sure, for sure. And also, it is important to note these are his public replays. I can only imagine what the private ones look like. Um,
now they're pretty bad. They're private for a reason.
Okay, so with that, we'll move on to our week 7 recap. It's been a while now, but a lot of important stuff happened. So, starting off, Columbus Cloudsiders beat Durant and clinch their division, and Durant ends up missing the playoffs. Uh, I mean, we obviously had the coach of the Miami Durant on last week, but Skylar, what'd you see in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Gavin's a tough guy to beat, right? And so it was always gonna be a tough game. Um,
For sure.
and I think that it came down to the wire, and I wouldn't expect anything different. I think the goat call with big asterisks, air quotations on that. Um, Clearly, maybe goats pull away with that, but you got to be a goat to do goat activities, if you ask me.
That's true. That's true.
For sure. James, did you see anything else out of this game that you want to talk about?
Anything you said? Anything else about this game
Yeah,
that I want to talk about?
yeah. I mean, just any
Well,
comments on the game?
any comments on the game?
Yeah.
I think really think about it this way, right? I've been beefing with Articuno for this whole game. We've had serious beef, and
Yeah.
honestly, I actually genuinely can't believe I'm saying this, but I respect Articuno now more than I respect Goat Cole. I think Goat Cole
Wow.
has
Wow.
lost a lot of its. I'm trying not to say aura.
No, no, aura's
lost
the right
that is it.
word.
He's lost a lot of his aura out of this week. As you can see, it ended up 4-10 without a playoff berth. It is very unfortunate. Um, so yeah, I'm hoping that he can rise from the ashes like a phoenix. But until then, I'm sadly out on Goku.
I mean, yeah, that is honestly a base take. If you just look at the numbers we've got up here, Goat Cole, in quotations, of course, ends up 4 kills, 10 deaths on the season collectively, and 0 playoff berths out of 2 teams. I mean, it's just not great, right? And meanwhile, Girder, who, if you see this quote at the bottom, Kyle does think Girder's the GOAT. So we've
He does.
appropriately named him Goatder, has 2 playoff berths, 2 playoff wins, and is in the semifinals right now. I mean, Skylar, do you think that Kyle was right in abandoning his old goat to go with Girder?
First of all, Kyle, I'm talking directly to you here because I know you're watching this. Went back in the video and pulled a direct quote from the video. You were asked if you thought Girder was the GOAT, and you said yes. And so I think that we just want to make that very clear that the trap last week was successful, and that Goat Cole is not the GOAT per your own words.
Yeah, I mean, it is important to bring that up that we only cover 100% accurate information on the Pat
That's
McAfee
true.
show. No rumors here, just exactly what
No
happened.
misinformation.
Yeah. And so next up we got, oh, this is one I want to hear your opinions on, James. Articuno wins, but the Genesex get the last laugh as Skylar and the Atlanta Mud Braves, I mean, they just destroyed you, took you down in this Week 7 game. But you ended up getting the division title because Rom forfeited, and you got a forfeit win over the Chennai Super Kingdras. How did all of those mixed emotions make you feel, and do you have anything you want to say about it?
Well, really, I'll talk more about. I'm gonna kind of save my thoughts on Articuno until a couple minutes later when we have the dedicated talk about it. But I think getting that forfeit win, getting the bye because of the forfeit, it really was like a huge, I'd say, kick in the pants for me because I mean, how I like it is that I win 5 or 6 games and get the bye on my own merit, right? But obviously that wasn't the case. I kind of frauded my way in there, so it kind of gave me some motivation to be better, to play better. I hope it plays out in this playoffs, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we will, and we will hit that right after this. Actually, we got some playoff content. But Skylar, is there anything you want to say about this, or do you also want to wait until our dedicated slide on this game?
No, I just think that I heard a lot of talk about the Mud Braves going undefeated, beating their rival, and that maybe they deserve the spot in the playoffs. But like, I'm gonna say it, like they only played one game, and yes, it may have been humiliating for their opponents, but like you gotta play a full season to make it to playoffs, and so I'm okay with hanging up the cleats for the Mud Braves here.
I mean, I think that's very noble of you. I personally, if I were in your shoes, might have campaigned a little harder to try to get the Mud Rays into the playoffs because I mean, like our next bullet point said, they looked incredible. I mean, they were just unbelievable. They destroyed the Genesex and gave Articuno some closure there. Next up, we've got Delphox is the first ever league MVP because it's the first ever season that stats have been taken. I think this is just incredible. Like as someone who interacts with Delphox a lot, they are an incredible locker room presence. You know, not someone with all that God-given talent, but they work hard, and I think that's shown up on the field. James and Skylar, let's start with Skylar. What have you seen here from Delphox?
You know the meme of Obama putting the medal on Obama? That's what that feels like to me right now, a little bit. Um, but Delphox did have a very impressive season, I will say. I think Delphox was a guy who wasn't on my radar before the season, and really using that Terra Captain ability to the fullest. And so I think I was really impressed with what he was able to do.
Gotcha.
I was also very impressed as well. I agree that Delphox was probably the best Terra captain, or ended up being the best Terra captain, getting the most results out of anybody. I think it used Terra really well, and I think it did a really good job of coming in and like securing the win. It definitely wasn't I wouldn't call it like the super flashy playmaker like your Dragapult or your say Ice Horse. I can see in second place there. That doesn't mean it wasn't amazing. It did a really, really good job, did a really, really solid job, and you need players like that on your championship roster. And players like that win the MVP.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Next up, this is an important one for Skylar. Samurott misses this top 3 kill leaderboard, but it was close. Skylar, would you say this is a huge relief for you?
No, I mean I knew it. I had a lot of confidence in that take when I said it. I don't just say stuff, and so I mean, as I believe the direct quote is Samurott is not a killer, and clearly he was not.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you were right. And next up, obviously, the playoffs are locked in, and we'll take a look at that later. And yeah, that's it for the week 7 recap. We will get to a playoff recap later. So we got to get to this take evaluation. So Skylar said, Samurott is not a killer. Samurott, as you can see, is tied for 7th, but because of its differential is in 9th on the kill leaderboard and is only 1 kill away from having made podium. Skylar, I know I just asked if it was a relief, but do you think that these results are enough to declare your take as wrong?
No, absolutely not. I'll stand by this take pretty strongly because if you look at the rest of those guys, Samurott Hisui also tied for the most deaths of the top killers, and so his differential was only 2, and yeah, I mean that's not enough to cut it. Articuno had a differential of 0, right? And so I think that I think that if you're only 2 better than Articuno, you are not a
His
killer.
differential's 5, but yeah.
Yeah, if we want to do it like that, I was saying a KD, like a ratio,
Oh, a ratio. I see, I see, I see.
like a
Yeah,
10
I mean,
over
you're right,
5
you're right,
equals
you're right.
10.
James, would you say this take was wrong?
But
Just for,
Samurai Hisui is not a killer.
yeah.
I mean, look at the. I think the leaderboard really speaks for itself. I think it definitely has a lot of kills, right? But I mean, I agree with Skylar here. Look at that death counter. It's 5 deaths. That means it's coming in on very risky plays. It's letting itself get taken out a lot, and I don't think that's really fits the ideal of like a killer. I think a perfect example of this is actually Delphox. Delphox is a plus minus of 15. That's ridiculous. That's crazy. Only 2 deaths is wild. So I think Delphox is way more of a killer than Samurott has been this season.
Look, I'll be honest, you guys hadn't convinced me with your argument until you started glazing Delphox, but at this point, I think you're right. I think Samurai Sui confirmed, not a killer, and this take was spot on. All right.
Thank you.
So next up, we've got the Mudbraves roll the Genesex. I mean, they just hammered them. I mean, it was just not even close. Skylar just had to let 2 Pokemon go just to make him feel better, to be honest. And as you can see, I've circled it in red here in the middle. You can see James complaining about hacks here as he's losing 4-0 to this Jolteon he let set up. Now, I mean, there's a lot here to evaluate. The Articuno piece of it, as you can see, he tweeted out right after the game, I let my play speak for itself. Fraudlek has Payleked. Skylar, I just wanted to get your breakdown on this game, and especially as an inside source since you were involved in this game. What'd you see here?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the better Articuno matchups I've ever seen. I think the Magneton by James was a really good bring because Articuno did some pretty serious work into the rest of that squad, and so Magneton gives Articuno a little bit of a tough time. But that clearly didn't matter as Articuno went 0-1, did not die. Or wait, it went
Oh
0
no.
kills, 0-0. Yeah, there we go. That makes a little more sense. Articuno did not die, and I think we can officially say that Jaylek Payleked. We've been there's been quite a bit of a push for Jaylek to Paylek, and I think this was a pretty good Paylek.
I honestly think you're
I
right.
think you're right.
Jaylek himself, would you like to comment on this?
I have a bit to say about this topic, considering it's me getting owned. So first of all, I'd like to say how much I respect Articuno as a player, especially. I think it's been really easy to stay on the couch, to stay heckling, and never go on a team and really try and prove what you're saying. And I respect that he came out and he showed what he could do, and he won, and he deserves the win. Now his tweet, I'm not a huge fan of. I think I did panic. I think the second part is correct, but I do think that he did absolutely nothing. That he was just there. And to be fair, being there is huge. Putting up pressure just by existing is massive. But yeah, I don't think he should be popping off as much as he is. I think the jury is still out on whether he put in a ton of work there.
Wow.
James,
So
I
we
will say that I got a text from Articuno a couple days
Yeah.
ago
Yeah. What is
after you advanced here to the semifinals, and
Mhm.
he told me that if you go and win the whole thing, since he beat you head to head, he's gonna claim the entire. He's gonna pull a Michigan and be like, "Yeah, we won the Natty because we beat
That's true.
OSU." Would you like
That's
to
true.
comment on Articuno's opinion there?
Okay. So if I win the whole league, I disagree with him. I disagree with him on that, but I do think that if I beat President Butts next week, I think he should be allowed to declare the win.
Now, I could see that. I think that's a valid take. Well, yeah, I mean, I just thought this game it's an excellent example of, you got to prove it. You got to back up your trash talk, and Articuno did. I know it seems that James doesn't think that, but I think he did. He came off the couch, went out there and he absorbed that knockoff from the Ogre Pun like a champ, got some chip off
He
with
really did. He
Parablast
really did.
on the Magneton. I mean, it was just great. I thought it was an incredible game by Articuno. And
I
yeah.
think so too. I do wish Palafin had hit the 80+% roll on Zen Headbutt, but it is what it is.
So as you can see, this is just Jaylek complaining about hacks after getting skill drift in a game, like usual.
Yep.
All right. So with that, we'll move on. So this is another big Week 7 game, the Columbus Clodsires, but it's the Columbus's Clodsire. See what I did there? Because it's the Clodsire. Cooks Miami. Now,
Ooh.
Clodsire was an immovable wall for a lot of this game. It doesn't show up in the stat sheet, but what it did do was weaken the team enough that Iron Bundle could come in at the end and sweep. I thought this was an excellent showing by Clodsire, living up to the mascot pick. And obviously, as you see, Torkel just crying after a tragic loss for the Durant and missing the playoffs. Skylar, you have any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think we touched on it earlier. It was a very close game, but I always love to see my boy Claude Sire putting in work and like as the mascot pick, right? The people in Columbus went crazy. So it was fun to see the next day how that excitement still had not faded, and it was great to see the success from the Claude Sire here.
That's for sure. James, did you see anything, especially, being a past Columbus native but no longer, anything you thought about this game?
I definitely don't live in Columbus anymore, but I do root for a lot of Columbus teams. I root for the Blue Jackets, I root for the Crew, and I root for the Clodsires. And I was very happy about the result of this game. I'm not gonna lie, it was like 2 weeks ago. I do forget 80% of it, but I do think the Clodsire cooked. I think that Bundle cooked as usual nowadays. And also I do think that this was unfortunately Goat Cole's downfall.
You know what else is crazy too? This was the head-to-head matchup between Goatder and Goat Cole, and
Wow, you're
Goatder
right.
didn't even feel like he had to show up. That it wasn't even close.
He didn't even need to be there.
He's right. He makes a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So.
Also, wait.
Oh.
Kyle's Screamtail was the one that was under PED investigation, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay. I'm not saying anything, but if you look at the screenshot, Screamtail has faded, right?
Correct.
I think maybe once he's off the juice, it's kind of over for him.
He makes a really good point. Ever since that whole investigation by the league and Screamtail's suspension, he hasn't done as well. I think all of his kills came before the investigation. So do you think, Skylar, that this means he was on PEDs for sure?
Oh, absolutely. I think that one was as someone who's pretty tight with the big man commissioner. I think it's almost all but confirmed that Screamtail was on performance enhancing drugs.
I thought it was Pokerus enhancing drugs, but yeah, same difference. But yes, I think you're right, James. That's a good call out. This does, lend credence to that PED scandal. All right, so with that, we'll move on to, this was after Week 7, the playoff picture. These are the 12 teams that made it. As you can see, your 4 division winners are the Cleveland Zygardians, Washington Genesects, Columbus Cloudstars, and Las Vegas Latias. And then I'm not going to read off all 8 wildcard teams, but Skylar and James, open question. Biggest surprise of these 12 teams? Maybe just placing, like, are you surprised someone won a division, or are you surprised someone made it in? What are your thoughts?
I don't think we can talk about being surprised someone won a division without talking about me. I'll be honest, I probably didn't deserve to win the division, but I'm here, and I'm glad I'm here, and yeah, I think all other three division winners, I definitely think are very definitely deserve to be there. Definitely people I am not very surprised that they're there in the division lead spots. Definitely all very good players.
For sure. For sure. Personally, I was a little surprised to see the Cerulean Sylveon sneak in after a tough start to the season. But we will cover their playoff games a little later. But after seeing them get into the playoffs, I did pick them to win. Um, but yeah, I was just impressed by them after a tough start to the season, getting back on track. All right, we can move on.
I think looking at this, yeah, I think every single one of these guys were people who I predicted to do well this season too. So I don't think I have any specific
Gotcha.
contribution.
I am glad that my goat Luke did make it in the playoffs.
He did. Snuck in at the 12.
He did. And
yeah.
honestly, I think he had, in my personal opinion, a better season than a 12 seed. I think he ended up running into a very unfortunate matchup late in the season. But I guess we can talk about that later.
Yes, we will. So we'll move on. The playoffs so far recap. So these are just, we've got all the quarterfinals games, but then some of the most exciting first round games too. So to start off, the Cerulean Sylveons fall to the Braviaries. Two Braviaries fall. I seem to have mixed up where fall went in that sentence. But it's okay. The Cerulean Sylveons fall to the Beaver Creek Braviaries despite getting a double freeze. Now we will have a full slide on this. So actually I think I'm just going to go through these because all of these have their own individual slides. The Florida Bulldor take a forfeit win off of the Naples Knackley. Cleveland Side Guardians, they just take care of business against the Dayton Dragonites. Obviously, they're the 1 seed. The Washington Genesex take a shocking win over Pyroil. I mean, this came out of nowhere. Columbus Clodsires crit their way through the Florida Bulldor, and the Braviaries sky drop to the Latias. See what I did there? So anyway,
it was good. Good job.
I think it's pretty good.
Let's start on the first of these. So the double freeze is not enough for the Cerulean Sylveons, as Beaver Creek manages to still win despite being frozen twice. And as we know, prior to this, the only person to have won a game despite being frozen was the commissioner. So could this mean that Beaver Creek is in the commissioner's pocket? Also, more on this story to come later in the slides. Skylar, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the next week, right? Spoiler alert, I think Nico went on to beat Nick. And so I think the commissioner being very picky with who they get in the final, I think that absolutely is. I think he's trying to have a matchup that he feels like he has a better shot at winning. And so I think there's absolutely a good chance that Nico's cheating and that he's putting a little bit of freeze and a little bit of ice everywhere. And I don't stand for it.
James, what do you think?
So I was talking to you guys a little bit before the show. So after my loss to the Atlanta Mud Braves, I did what I usually do after every loss, which was take some ayahuasca to my reflection cave, and after 48 hours, I returned with a revelation, and that revelation was that status has been really ruling the league for some time now. I mean, we talk about Big Stall, right? We talk about Big Stall all the time, but think about Big Status. Yeah. And Big Status gave me so many freezes this season, so many paralysis activations this season, stuff like that. I know there's a confusion that happens later. Like Status has been huge this season, and I was thinking, how is Status able to run this rampant throughout the season, right? Like someone has got to be in on it. And then I remembered the only person who's benefited from a status from freeze has been Nico. So I think this might be a bit of a conspiracy theory, but I think Nico is working with big status.
Wow. Now that's one I hadn't heard yet. But as you know, we only cover 100% confirmed conspiracy theories on this show. So I can believe it.
That's
I
true. That's
think
true.
I think Nico might be working with big status in order to rig the league. Now, yeah, I do think it is important that we just go over again that Nick was frozen twice and still managed to win, which is almost unheard of, right? If you just lose two of your Pokemon. I mean, there are actually rules. The simulators are made in a way that you can't do that in the Gen 1 and 2 metagames because it would just be too broken to freeze two Pokemon. And somehow he managed to win. It seems like cheating to me. All right.
It does.
Next up, Naples Knackley make a shocking blockbuster trade to end the season. They trade being good at Pokemon for being a doctor, or potentially, as this image alludes to, he might have just found a girlfriend. We're unsure, but he's just forfeited all his matches in order to either do medical school or hang out with a girl. Skylar, what were your thoughts on this trade?
Yeah, I heard a quote recently. It's that life is what happens when you're not playing Pokemon, and I think that's exactly what's happening to Rom. I think he's out there not playing Pokemon, and I think it's concerning to say the very least.
James, how about you?
I think it's unfortunate that Rom has really not been able to attend to the most important thing in his life, that is Pokemon. And that he's going for the one of the lesser things in his life. But I do say congratulations either to his work on becoming a doctor or to getting a girlfriend.
You know, so I've analyzed all trades this season, and I think I've been right about most of them. The Iron Crown trade, I did think that was good, and it ended up getting the Oshawotts into the playoffs. I said Miami's trade was bad, and they ended up missing the playoffs. This trade, I'm going to go on a hot take that disagrees with you guys. I think this is a great trade. I think he made the right decision here. Trading greatness at Pokemon for being a doctor and maybe having a girlfriend. I mean, I think he is going to look back years from now and say, wow, best trade my team ever made. But yeah, we will have to see.
You might be right. A very wise take.
Next up, we've got, this is on to the the quarterfinals. And Las Vegas wins off of a choke. So Nick, who, as we may remember, might have been put in this place by the commissioner, he could have won had he not clicked Swords Dance on turn 23, but in fact he did click Swords Dance on turn 23. Could the commissioner have maybe paid him off, maybe intimidated him into throwing with threats of sanctions? I don't know. What are your thoughts, Skylar?
Yeah, I mean, I think Nico's a scary guy sometimes. There's big man, and so I think definitely the pressure is there, right? But I think that there is absolutely a chance that Nick could have won this, and I think there's some pressure, but I would not, as we've said before, Nico is someone who likes to bend the rules, and well, this rule might have just been bent a little bit, and so I think that Nico is guilty.
I couldn't agree more. James, how about you?
I think that it's certainly possible this game was rigged. For sure. I think this is definitely something that could definitely happen. Maybe big status is involved. Who knows?
I honestly I could see it, and I do think. Look, I'm just gonna come out and say it, as we only have correct takes. I think Birdkeeper Neek, he was paid off and threw this game on purpose. I think Nico, he was like, look, I'm going to let you win your first round. I'm going to let you get by these free statuses if you throw the game to me in the second round. And I think Nick said, look, that sounds like a good deal. I got to play some Monster Hunter, so I don't have a ton of time for the finals. And I think he took the deal. And that's what I think happened. I think this was rigged. And I would not be surprised if we see something similar next week and the following week from the commissioner.
Absolutely. In the event that he had clicked Icicle Crash, what are the odds it would have hit?
I mean, I think they're just zero. I think the commissioner was prepared for a little bit of betrayal on behalf of Nick, and he had all of his outs covered. All right, so with that, we'll move on to the Columbus Clodsires crit their way to the semis. As you see in this picture we've got here, this was an Assault Vest Archaludon that would have lived this Ice Beam and killed the Iron Bundle back with a Flash Cannon. But unfortunately, it was critical hit by the Ice Beam, and thus Iron Bundle won. Now, this does seem to be a theme. The Columbus Clodsires do end up having a lot of hacks on their side, but what were your thoughts on this game, Skylar?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're in the question of integrity, right? I think that Gavin is a person who just the sun shines on him, and so I have no doubt that there was no scandalous activity going on here. But I will say that if you play against Gavin, all I'm saying is I would never play to a win condition where I'm relying on not getting crit, because if you get to that, you've already lost. And so I think the way to beat Gavin is to move first and to use 100% accurate moves and get a little bit lucky. And I think that clearly our Caledon is not really known for moving first. And so I think that I'm not shocked by the outcome of this game.
I think you're very right. James, did you have any thoughts on this?
I agree with Skylar here. I think that this definitely not a scandalous crit. Even maybe possibly a skillful crit. Who knows? Who knows?
Well, I mean, that is a take, and it could be as Gavin seems to have a skill for this. But let's move on. Iron Bundle did in his post-game press conference. Actually, he appears to like to be called Jimmy Bundler. No relation to the NBA player. And his nickname is Hemi Bundler. He he gave the quote, "I'm him," after the game. Now, do you think this is an indication of future incredible playoff performances to come, Skylar?
Absolutely. I think the ball's just getting rolling. If the crits are already out, I guarantee you didn't miss a hydro pump that game. Like I think that Gavin's Iron Bundle here is ready to go, and so bring your Yachi berries because things are about to get interesting.
I think so too. James, also, this is interesting. As a competitor still left in the playoffs, are you scared to play this Iron Bundle after this quote?
I think so. I think the combination of I mean even Jimmy Butler, the NBA player, is insane in the playoffs. He's one of the best playoff players. So meeting Jimmy Butler in the playoffs always terrifying. I think that combined with Gavin's luck and will make his hydro pumps never miss. And I think it'll be a very hard elimination. It'll be very hard to win.
I couldn't agree more. All right. So, personally, I'm terrified of this. After seeing an I'm him come out of Hemi Bundler, I think everyone else is cooked. I think this might just be the Clodsires making making a claim to the title. Um, but we'll move on. So next up, we got another Washington Genesex game where they are carried by not just Flygon, but a confused Flygon, as you see in our game picture here. It hit through confusion 2 of 3 confused turns, which actually is just odds. So looking back, that probably wasn't a good stat to put up. But I mean, clearly Genesex are just carried by the broken Dragon type. We should probably add a type that like counters it specifically or something. I don't know if they've thought of that before. Clearly carried. But big news, Flygon is in concussion protocol after the game, after all of that outraging. I mean, I do think it was obvious, and we'll talk about this on the next slide, but it did seem obvious early into the game that Flygon had a concussion. But James, I'll let you defend yourself here or talk about the game. What'd you think about Flygon's performance?
I think he did amazingly. My strategy of just click outrage until I faint worked incredibly well. I do think there might have been some signs of confusion early on, but at the end of the game, he was perfectly fine. He'd obviously snapped out of whatever confusion he was in. So I think I'm okay. We'll see what the league has to say.
I see. And Skylar, how about you? What'd you see here?
Yeah, I mean they have those like the padded like helmet things, and it's appalling to me that Flagon feels too weird wearing one of those nice soft padded helmets to prevent this kind of head trauma when he's going around wearing glasses looking like those. Like he already looks goofy. Like what does the helmet change is the question that I really want to know.
I think that's a really good point that I hadn't considered yet. He had an opportunity to wear that helmet and just chose not to. But we'll move
Right?
on. The Genesects are now under investigation by the league for playing a concussed player. Now, as you know, the league, after a recent CTE lawsuit, has a very strict concussion protocol. Now, the things that they've cited is that there's clear trauma to Flygon's head after outrage was used the first time, clear signs of confusion. Actually, Flygon knocked itself out by hitting itself in confusion during this game.
That's true.
Uh, as you can see, this is a picture of Flygon being tended to and eventually carted off the field during the game. I mean, it was tough to watch, to be honest. And Flygon is now undergoing concussion protocol. James, I'm gonna let you defend yourself. How do you think this investigation is going to come out? And do you regret playing Flygon after a clear concussion?
I have no doubts that this investigation is going to come back with zero sanctions upon me. My reasoning is that yes, Flygon was confused after using outrage, but he was also he locked himself in. He was choice banded. He kept himself in the game. I tried to get him out, but he wouldn't listen to me.
Now, that is an interesting argument that you're going to try to make to the league, but is it not true that you equipped the choice band, so you forced him to stay in?
That may possibly be true, but he had a hand in picking me up.
Skylar, what did you see from this potentially controversial story?
Yeah, I mean, I think I might have a little bit of a hot take here, but I think that leaving Flagon in, if that's what the team thought was best, we're in the playoffs now. It's not a regular season game where it doesn't matter as much. It's you play or you go home, and Flagon didn't want to go home, and he chose to stay in, and so I think that if he was involved with that decision making, I think that is perfectly fine by the Genesects. I think that we're in the time of the season where this kind of uh it's playoffs or bust, right? And so I think that Flygon didn't want to bust, and so he ended up busting his head, which clearly is maybe a sacrifice that the team and Flygon thought was worth making. And so if Flygon ends up getting his ring at the end of the season, I see no issue with this decision.
Now,
I couldn't agree more.
I see where you guys are coming from, but I just need to remind everyone that we have a very aggressive players union, especially after the CTE lawsuit. Um, I just know I was a part of it back in season 2 with Roaring Moon, had a serious CTE lawsuit after it kept bashing its head into Dondozo. I mean, it's just not something you really want to get involved in. So I wish you the best in this legal battle, James, but I'm not going to say anything to agree with playing concussed players.
David, I
Okay.
got a question for you. Do you think that there's any sort of maybe foul play going on here by the league investigating something that maybe some of us might think isn't such of a problem
I
when
do
we
think
have
that's very much a possibility.
freezes all benefiting Nico in the end? Do you think there's any chance this is a sort of like cover up?
I think actually something that this could mean is after he saw that Flygon performance, he was just like, I can't let the Genesects play me. They'll destroy me. And which obviously is not a sentence you hear many people say. Uh, but I think the commissioner might have ulterior motives, and I do think that covering up for all the freezes is a very likely one. But I do also think it could be just that he is scared of playing the Washington Genesects.
It's
Yeah.
certainly possible. It's certainly possible.
So with that, we'll move on to a less exciting game. Cleveland uses a toxic strategy. As you can see, Britney Spears was a huge fan. Um, and Iron Valiant gets its first kill of the season in the second round of the playoffs. Obviously not the season Valiant wanted. He's made that very clear, even requested a trade, but he's still working for the team. Skylar, do you have any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my first question for you is: did Britney Spears get any royalties? Did you from this game?
Uh, we're still negotiating it. She wanted too big of a cut initially.
Interesting. So the deal being made post game seems
It was,
interesting. How you divide that money up.
yeah, for sure, for sure. As you know, we make incredible amounts of money in this business, so I understand why she's trying to ask for it.
She wants her $10, and it's she's gonna have to fight for it.
Yep.
That she is. James, how about you? Anything from the game? And Sky, also you can finish later, but sorry for
I
cutting you off.
think that normally I am not a huge fan of toxic spikes, but in this case, I saw them being used to their full potential, and I thought it was really cool to see. I also do think that you should probably lawyer up because I have heard that Britney Spears is rabid when it comes to royalties. So
So I can for sure believe that, and I will do my best to try to win this legal battle. But as you know, with the funds of the Cleveland Guardians at my back, there will likely not be any trouble hiring the most expensive lawyer and winning this legal battle.
that's good. That's good.
The Guardians don't lose on the Pokemon field and in the court.
Yeah, dude, somebody call Mike Ross. We're locking in. Okay. Well, with that, we'll move on to the final take evaluation. Well, not technically the final, but a take that I had earlier this season was this tier list, and I've taken the liberty of circling all of the final four teams left. And as you may notice, of the top three tiers, which consist of five teams, only one made it, and of the bottom four, that's where one team's actually in fact in the bottom tier, and he's here today to defend himself. But let's start with James because you're on this graphic. Do you think that it's safe to call this take horrendously wrong?
I honestly, I sort of disagree with you actually. I know I'm in the bottom tier, but the bottom tier is the new and exciting tier, and I mean, you guys don't know really at that point of the season where I would be on that ranking, and so I
That's a
mean,
good
you see a
point.
couple other goats like the Cincinnati Cinder Races and the Chennai Super Kingers on there, and I think that being on that bottom tier does not really mean being, well, you assuming that we would be the worst in the league.
That is true.
And all the other ones, I mean, you see that Columbus Clodsires in division win potential, and they did win their division. And you can see Nico and show me playoff success, and it looks like he's showing playoff success right now. So I do think that all of these takes are, I wouldn't call them amazing, but I wouldn't call them terrible either.
Well, that's kind to hear. Skylar, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I already tore you a new one for this tier list, but I think every single one of those guys I said would be higher. Um, and yeah, I mean, clearly I have a history of being right on this show, so
Of
I'm
course.
not shocked.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. But like James said, Nico is showing us playoff success. Gavin did win his division, and the singles
And
three-peat's
do
still
it exciting.
alive until the new and exciting Genesex take us out. But, you know,
I know a certain Articuno who might say the Genesex are not that exciting.
it's true.
That's true.
It's
That's
true.
true. That's true.
He makes a good point. All right. With that, we'll move on to this is my bracket that I made. Uh, you can tell I didn't make it after the games have been played because of how many I got wrong. But this is my bracket going into the playoffs. As you can see, I picked all underdogs in the first round, and only one of them hit. In the second round, I picked all the favorites except one, and all the favorites won. So yeah, I'm currently 4-4 in terms of picks, which not great. But Skylar, do you see anything on this bracket that you think like you can't believe I made this decision, and you're not surprised it was wrong?
I can't believe you called the forfeit win. Was
Yeah, I did call that.
I think that was impressive.
Thank you. James, how about you?
I think this is definitely a pretty decent bracket. I do see that you picked me to lose first thing, and obviously I proved you wrong. So
That is true.
it looks like I have the last laugh here.
It's very
Um,
true.
I'm gonna see if I can pull because I made a similar bracket. Let me see if I can pull it up real fast on my screen. I believe I went 2-2 in the first round. I got Pyro Challengers and I got maybe I went did Beaver Creek beat Cerulean?
Yes, they did.
They did? Okay.
Yep.
So I went 2-2. I got Pyro and Beaver Creek correct, and I got Naples and the Cincinnati Cinderaces wrong. And then I got all four. I picked all four favorites to win. So right now I'm 6-2, but I do have myself winning it all. So that could go very wrong very fast.
I see. Well, with that, Skylar, do you want to move on to your bracket?
Yeah, mine's on the next page. I
Yes.
missed an X on the left. I don't know if it showed up or not, or on
So
the
here,
right maybe now.
I can refresh it.
I lost an X in the process.
Oh
They're
yeah.
both there on my screen now. Um,
Um,
I think I threw the X's on in the last second, and I didn't watch many, if any, of the games. Um,
wait. Oh,
Oh,
okay.
I would like to make a brief correction. I did have Rom beating Gavin in the quarterfinals, so that was wrong. So I'm actually
Let me
5-3.
see. Ah, I see. So if we look at Skylar's, yes, he also went 1-3 in the first round, but went 4-0 in the second round. That's impressive.
that's what I'm
Very,
saying. I think the semifinals round here looked pretty good for me. So I think that
yeah,
we'll see how it ages into next week. But I'm
that
feeling
we
pretty
will
solid about this tier list.
for sure. I mean, clearly this James has the best bracket of the three of us, but you're second, and I bringing up the rear. My only hope. I think we have exactly the same semifinals and finalists, so I can never beat your bracket. But you know,
Mhm.
just
My bracket can definitely be
yeah,
beaten, unfortunately.
yeah. I guess I control my own destiny against James's bracket, but
I thought both Gavin and Nico had Nico going all the way. It was
they do. I'm pretty
the
sure.
other
Yeah,
two brackets I saw. I don't remember what else they had, but they
true.
thought they didn't believe in the three-peat.
They do not. So hopefully the Cleveland Zy Guardians can get out there and prove them wrong. But we will see Cleveland Zy Guardians in a recent Pika season. What season is it? 3. Pika season 3 match. Were upset in the semifinals, so we will have to see if that happens again with the Washington Genesects. All right, and lastly, for sure, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. If not for us, then for James coming on this show. James, thank you
Yeah,
for being here.
I had better see. I guess I'm saying at the end of the video, 100% viewer retention,
Yeah,
100% like ratio, 100% like to dislike ratio,
for
100% of
sure.
people like the video, and 100% of people subscribe. I think it's very possible if everyone does their part. And so I'm excited to see next week, or the next time the Pat McAfeebas show is aired, the results.
Absolutely. Skylar, do you have any closing remarks? Any predictions you need to make before we go off the air?
Well, speaking of predictions that I got wrong, I thought that after Articuno beat James, I thought we would spend a whole episode, probably like an hour, ripping into James, and somehow Nico caught all the strings.
Yeah.
So James,
That's true.
whatever
That's
whatever
true.
you did, bro, congratulations, because that is
Thank
truly
you.
impressive.
I would like to thank my PR team. My
Yeah, of
kindergarten
course.
teacher.
Do you just want to
Everyone in my
actually?
life, really.
Were you in my kindergarten class? I think we were in the same class.
Were we? Were you in Eckerd?
Yeah, I was in Eckert's. Did you know she's dead
Yeah,
now?
we were.
Did you
She
know she
is.
died? Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. She passed away.
Anyway, on to
Crazy way to end the video.
Yeah.
the lore drop.
These suckers, my kindergarten teacher's alive and well, so
Yeah.
Well, that's
I
good.
have no idea what you're going through.
It's chill. She died when I was in like 6th grade, so
Yeah.
I'm over it.
Oh, so you've moved on.
Yeah, I have.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I've. I think that's all I have to say. So, Skylar, do you want to sign us off?
Yeah, everyone, thank you for watching Pat McAfeebas. Go out, tell your parents you love them, tell your kindergarten teacher you love them, because
That's
apparently
true.
they
You'll
don't
never
live
know
forever.
how long you have.
You never know how long you have with them. So go out, talk to the people you love, and have a great day. Thanks for watching our little Pokemon video. We'll see ya.
Thank you.